Hello, I'm now going to record Daf Tzadik Beis. We're in the middle of traffic here, so let's get into the sugya. There was a machlokes between Chizkiah against Rabbi Yochanan. If you have a box, and in the box has movable objects, the box is partially in the Rishus Yochid, partially in the Rishus Rabbim. So Chizkiah said, if some objects inside the box are outside, you're chayiv, because the term is called Igad Keli Lav Shmei Agad. The bonding of the utensil is not considered bonding, and therefore, even though part of the utensil is in, part of the utensil is out, it doesn't have an effect on the contents. The contents, if some of the contents are outside, like a box full of mustard seed, you're chayiv on the haitzah of the mustard seed. In other words, according to Chizkiah, the contents are not dependent on the container. The container can be part in and part out, but you're chayiv if some of the contents are outside. According to Rabbi Yochanan, Igud Keli Shmei Agad. It was the container being one unit is considered one big unit, and therefore if the container is part in and part out, even though the contents, some of the contents may be completely out, you're not chayiv, because the contents are dependent on the container. That was the machlekes. So the last thing we were in the middle of was a story that if somebody, let's say, steals a pouch on Shabbos, so when he goes into somebody else's house, when he picks up the pouch, he's chayiv for Geneva. Then when he takes it outside, then it's Chil Shabbos. So these are two separate acts. For Geneva, he's chayiv for Geneva. For Hitzah, he's chayiv for Chil Shabbos, but that's later. But if he drags it, so then the halacha is that his Chil Shabbos and his Kinyan Geneva come simultaneously, and therefore Kamle b'derabim minei. So the Gemara asks the kasha, if you hold Agad Keli Shmei Agad, the moment part of the bag has gone outside, so then some of the money is outside, and he has access to the money. So he's chayiv ready for Geneva because he has taken some of the money outside. But if you hold Agad Keli Shmei Agad, then since part of the bag is still inside, he hasn't been chayiv yet for Chol Shabbos. He will only be chayiv for Chol Shabbos when the entire bag is outside. So the chayyim he should be, there's no kamle b'derabim minei. So the Gemara answered that speaking where the bag, he dragged it out bottom first. So if it's bottom first, even when he drags the first half of the bag outside, he doesn't have access to the money. So he wasn't kainit b'kinyan geneva. When is he finally kainit b'kinyan geneva? When the entire bag is outside, and then both he has access to the money and Chil Shabbos, which is simultaneous, and there's kamle b'derabim minei. So the Gemara asks the kasha, but even if he only takes the bottom of the bag out first, but he can slit it. If he can slit it, he can access the money. The Gemara answered, it's benascha, there's larger pieces inside, which you can't take it out through a slit in the bottom. Okay, so that's where we were in the middle of. So we're up to Tzadik Beis Amud Aleph, top line. The Gemara asks, v'kiven dika shnatzin, but l'chayra the bag might have a strap. And v'kiven dika shnatzin, since the bag might have a strap, so mapik le'at pume, when he even takes it out until the front of the bag is out, so now he has access to the money, and he's chayiv for Geneva, but v'shori v'shokil, and he can take the money out, the shnotzin agidim agavoy. If you hold agad keli shmei agad, the straps are still inside. So since the whole utensil, the whole bag was not outside, he's not chayiv for Shabbos until later. The laka shnotzin, speaking where there's no straps. Or v'boy saying with this lay mekarchi lovei, the strap is wrapped around it. So Bekitzer, when you take out the bag, you've taken out the entire bag with its straps, so therefore it's simultaneously Geneva and Shabbos, and Kamle b'derabim minei. The next piece of Gemara is not hard, except you have to keep track of the back and forth. So I'm going to try to do it slowly and repetitively so that it sticks. V'chein Amar Rava. Rava says like Chizkiah, that loy shanu, if the box is part in and part out, your potter is ela b'kupa malei kishuim v'deluim. Only if the box has, let's say, long English cucumbers or long gourd. So therefore, if part of the box is in and part of the box is out, so is the vegetable inside. Aval, says Rava, malei chardal, but if the box is full of mustard seed, you'd be chayiv on the mustard seed that's outside. Alma, so you see, Ksavar, he holds eget keli loishme eget. The unity of the keli is not called unity. The keli can be part in and part out, but the contents are not meshubit to the keli. Therefore, if some of the contents are outside, you're chayiv for the contents that are outside. So, according to this, Rava holds like Chizkiah, that Eged Keli Loishme Eged, and you're chayiv for the contents that are outside, even though part of the container is still inside. But Abaya, Amar Abaya says, Afila Malaya Chardel Potter, even if the box is full of mustard seed, you're also Potter. Alma, so you see Ksavar that Abaya holds Eged Keli Shme Eged, that the unity of the Keli is considered unity, and therefore the contents are Meshubah to the Keli, and if the Keli is part in and part out, you're not chayiv on the contents either. So one more time, let's do this twice more. So Rava holds that Eged Keli Lo Shme Eged, the contents are independent of the container, and Abai holds Eged Keli Shme Eged, and the contents are bonded with the Keli, and they're dependent on the Keli. One more time. Rava holds Agad Keli Lo Shme Agad, the contents are not really dependent on the Keli, so you can be chayiv on the contents even though part of the Keli is inside. And Abai holds Agad Keli Shme Agad, meaning if some of the if the Keli is part in and part out, then the contents are meshubah to the Keli, and you are potter on the contents as well. Carefully now. Kam Abaye b'shitose de Rava, kam Rava b'shitose de Abaye. We happen to know that Abaye and Rava decided to switch positions. So now, Rava holds Agad Keli is Shmei Agad, and the contents are meshubah to the Keli, and Abaye holds Agad Kli Lo Shmei Agad, and the contents are independent of the Keli. According to this new and reverse Shita, one more time, that Abaye holds that the contents are independent of the Keli, and Rava holds that the contents are meshubah to the Keli. Abaye holds the contents are independent of the Keli, and Rava holds the contents are meshubah to the Keli. V'rami d'Abaye d'Abaye, Rami d'Rava d'Rava. I have a contradiction in Abaye and a contradiction in Rava. The Hitmer, it was said, Hamaitzi Peres l'Reshus Harabim, if you carry produce out into the Reshus Harabim, Abaye says Biyad Chayiv. We'll deal with that later. If a person sticks his hand out into the Reshus Harabim and he has an apple in his hand, Abaye says you're Chayiv for being Maitzi, the apple B'Reshus Harabim, even though your body is B'Reshus HaYachid. But B'Keli, you're Potter. But if there's a Keli, and the apple is outside, but the container is still partially inside your potter. So Abaye seems to hold Agad Keli Shmei Agad, that the apple is meshubah to the container. But before, when Abaye switched his opinion, he held Agad Keli Lo Shmei Agad, that the contents were independent. Rava says the other way, Biyad Potter, if you stick your hand out your potter, because your hand is still connected to your body and your body is still inside, but if you stick it out the Keli, you're chayiv, because even though part of the Keli is inside, but as long as the apple is outside, you're chayiv, because Rava holds Agad Keli Lo Shmei Agad, and the contents are independent of the container. That's a stira, because when he reversed himself, Rava held that Agad Keli was Shmei Agad, and if part of the Keli was inside, you're potter. So where it says Eipach, the last version of the Machlokes Abaye Rava needs to be reversed. Meaning, since I happen to know that Abaye held Shitas Rava and Rava held Shitas Abaye, that means that Abaye held that Agad Keli Lo Shmei Agad and Rava held Agad Keli Shmei Agad. That's what they held. So therefore, in the Machlokes afterwards, in Abaye Rava, we should line it up to the way I know that Abaye Rava's really Shitas are. So Abaye will hold Agad Keli Lo Shmei Agad, and therefore you're chayiv if the apple is outside and part of the container is in. And Rava will hold Agad Keli Shmei Agad, and you're potter if part of the Keli is inside, even though the apple is out. Biyad chayiv. One of the things that was said was, before it was Abaye, now it's Rava, that if you stick your hand out into the Reshus Harabim with the apple, you're going to be chayiv. I don't understand. But now the first Mishnah, Masechta Shabbos, said, Pasha Balbayis says Yodei lechutz v'nota la'ani mitoicha. If the Balbayis sticks his hand outside and the ani takes something out, or the ani puts something into the hand of the Balbayis, the Balbayis takes his hand in Shneim Peturim. So you see that if the Balbayis sticks his hand out with the apple, the Balbayis is potter. So how can, according to the way we reverse it, how could Rava say Biyad is chayiv? The Gemara gives a simple answer: Hasam l'mala mishloisha, hacha l'mata mishloisha. The Mishnah and Daf Beis was speaking where your hand is outside, but more than 3 tvachim off the ground, so there's no hanocha. But here, Rava is speaking where your hand is lamata megimel tvachim, and if your hand is lamata megimel tvachim in the Reshus Harabim, it's considered you made a hanocha b'Reshus Harabim. So the Mishnah, Hamaitzi bein b'yamina bein b'smayla, if you carry out whether you use your right hand or left hand, b'taycheka in your lap, al kseifav, or on your shoulders, chayiv, you're chayiv, shekemasa b'nei kahas, because the b'nei kahas carried stuff on their shoulders. By the way, there's a Yerushalmi that says that a Lazar had carried, there's a pasuk, a Lazar carried Shemen Amor and Shemen Mishcha, one in his right and one in his left. He also carried the Ketairis in his lap, and he carried the Minchas Atomid, the Minchas Chaviten, he carried on his shoulder. So you see that all these four ways were normal ways of carrying things in the time of the Mishkan. But if you carry out Kilachar Yodai with a Shinui or Baragli on a leg or Bepiv in a mouth, B'marpikoi under your arm, Ba'oznai attached to your ear, Bisari attached to the hair, B'pundasai Pia Lamata, and a hollow money belt, but the opening is down, that's not normal. Bein Pundasai Lachaluka, if it's tight, the object is tight between your belt and your garment, or Bisfas Chaluka, or tied to the bottom of your garment, B'minola, you carry it on your shoe, b'sandali or a sandal, your potter, sh'layotzi kederach ha'moitzim, because that's not a normal way of being moitzi. Amar Reb Elazar says, ha'moitzi masui l'malam yasar t'fachim chayiv, shekem masa b'nei kahas. Even though we said that l'malam yasar t'fachim b'shus rabim z'makim tur, but if you carry something b'shus hayochad l'shus rabim, and you're carrying it l'malam yasar t'fachim, you're chayiv. Why? Because the b'nei kahas, when they carried things, the stuff they carried was higher than 10 t'fachim. Umasa b'nei kas minola, and how do you know what the b'nei kas carried was higher than 10 tvachim? The Chsiv is written that the curtains around the chotzer surrounded ala mishkan v'ala mizbeach savu, surrounded the mishkan and the mizbeach. So makish mizbeach le mishkan, we compare the mizbeach to the mishkan. Ma mishkan, we know the boards were eser amos high. Af mizbeach was eser amos 10 amos high. Mishkan Gufim and all, and the Gemara explains what I just said. How do you know the Mishkan was 10 amos high? T'chsiv eser amos oirech hakerish, that the boards were 10 amos high. Okay, so now we know that the Mizbeach also was 10 amos high. Uksiv, it's written by Yifreis es hoil ala Mishkan, Moshe, and he spread the second cover over the Mishkan on top of the first cover. But Marav, who is Vayifreis? Who did it? Moshe Rabbeinu Prasoi, which means that Moshe Rabbeinu had to be able to spread a cover of goat's hair on top of the Mishkan, which was more than 10 amos high. Must be the Moshe Rabbeinu was 10 amos high, and the Gemara now assumes that Mikanat Olame, the Goyim Shalavim, Eser amos. Since Moshe was a Levi, so if Moshe was 10 amos high, the Gemara assumes that the Levim were all 10 amos high. Now, assuming that the Levim were 10 amos high, tall guys. Ugemiri de Kaltuna de Midlei B'moitos, we have a tradition of whatever you carry on a pole, Tilsam el Tilsam el Tachas, you're holding the poles in your hands, and therefore a third of the size of what you're carrying is above your shoulders, and 2/3 are below your shoulders, but it's off the ground. Ishtakach, so if it's obvious, the Mizbech itself is already 10 amos high. Ishtakach davi midli tuva. So if the Mizbech that's 10 amos high was lifted a third of its height off the ground, so the 2/3 were below the shoulders of the Levim and a third above the shoulders. So a third of 10 amos is 3 1/3 amos. So 3 1/3 amos is about 20 tvachim. So you see that the bottom of the Mizbech that they were carrying was 20 tvachim off the ground. So you see that Kaz carried stuff more than 10 tvachim off the ground. Iba is saying, or maybe I can make it simpler. I am not so sure that all the Levim were 10 amos high. But anyway, the Oren, there's an Oren. The Amar Mar, Oren was Tisha v'Kapayris Tefach. The Oren was 9 tvachim high, plus the Kapayris makes 10. Harekan Asara. Ugmiri, once again, we have a tradition. The Kaltuna de Midli B'moitos, Tilsam el Tre Tilsam el Ra. When you're carrying something on poles, you're holding the poles in your hands, a third of what you're carrying is above your shoulder and 2/3 below. Now, if the whole Oren with its Kapayris is 10 tvachim and they lifted it off the ground, so they lifted it off the ground, a third of its height. So Ishtaka del Malam Yasara Vakai. So the top of the Oren is definitely higher than 10 tvachim. The Oren was 10 tvachim. So the moment you lift it 3 1/3 tvachim, the top of it is already 13 3 tvachim high. So you see that you can carry, the Nekas carried Lamala Me'asora tvachim. What was wrong with the first raya? That since they carried the Mizbeach and they were 10 amos tall, the Levim, so for sure they carried stuff 3 1/3 amos off the ground. Moshe could have been very tall because Damar Mar, the Gemara says in the Nedorim, the Shechina rests on somebody who's knowledgeable, strong, wealthy, and a man of height. So maybe Moshe was uniquely tall. But you don't need the rye from 10 amma high Levim or the Mizbeach. Just keep it simple. The Oren and the Kaparis was 10 tvachim high. The moment they lifted it, it's already higher than 10 tvachim. So you see that you can carry, in Chai for carrying, L'malam Yasar tvachim. Amarav Mishum Rab Chia Moitzi Masa b'Shabbos al Rosh Chayav Chatas. If you carry something on your head, you're Chayav Chatas. Sheken Anshe Hutzel Oisen Ken Anshe Hutzel carry on their heads. Niv Anshe Hutzel Ruba de Alma. The people of Hutzel are a majority of the world. To make it normal, they're a minority, so it's not normal. Eli Itmer Hachi Itmer. So maybe what we said was like this. Amarav Mishum Rab Chia Echad Mibnei Hutzel Shoytzi Masa al Rosh b'Shabbos Chayav. If a Hutzelite carries something on his head on Shabbos, he's chayiv shekain b'nei yiro and kain, because that's what Hutzel people do. But v'tibotel data it's a kolodam, since most of the world doesn't carry stuff on their head, so it should be potter, even if you're a Hutzelite. And the Gemara concludes, absolutely. Eliyit merhachi yitmer, what was said was amoitzi masal roishay potter, if you actually carry on your head, you're potter. The imtim tzolaimer, and if you're going to ask me, anshe Hutzel and kain, the people of Hutzel do it, well, never mind. But ladat and etzel koladim, it's considered unusual, abnormal, and it's kalach haryad, and you're potter because it's called meshuna, different. Okay? I'm now going to record this piece.